So today I'm going to run through the process of this Simone Biles design that I created earlier on in the year. I shared this PST across my social media channels yesterday if anyone wants to download and have a look for themselves. I'm hoping to do a lot more of these breakdown videos moving forward, so I hope it gives a good insight into how my design processes usually come together for the final piece. So the initial thought process behind creating this was I wanted to have a big hero headshot and then a smaller image of her doing a gymnastics pose, and I wanted to incorporate the American flag stripes and a bit of the blue as well. And we've also got some of the stars coming in as well. So we start off with a picture of Simone in the background, and then I've added a clipping mask just to remove the background, and then we start adding some stripes behind her, and then a few more that will come over the top. And then the idea was I wanted her to be black and white, so we added a gradient map to this, and then I just filtered out the gold medal because we wanted to keep that gold. And we've also got the blue part of the flag, which aligns with the stripes that are coming diagonally down. Added a bit of a back shadow just to separate her from the ones that are going behind her. And the gold medal, you can see all this green be here. I just wanted it to have a bit more of a pop, so we added another gradient map right there, and then we just masked it so it only covered over the gold medal itself. And as you can see down the bottom right, we have got a bit of a follow over, so I just wanted to make sure that was white, that's why that's there. You've got a gradient fill here just to add a bit of depth for the bottom, which is where we're going to be placing the smaller silhouette. And then another gradient fill just to add a bit of a cloudy texture. So if we move on now to the actual Simone doing a pose, gymnastic pose. You've got a darken layer here, which was I just went over it with just a normal brush, and then we've got a curves layer, which is set to multiply blend mode, and that just darkens it slightly more. And then we've also got a lighten curves mode, which is set to screen blend mode, and that just increases all the lighting on her. And then I wanted to create a shadow so it actually looks like she's on the floor. So we've added that in. I used that with just a normal brush. Which is this one here. Hardiness down to 0, and then just change the roundness on it. It kind of gives you this sort of shape. And then if we just reduce the flow down to about 8, 9, choose a dark color, make it smaller, and you just click a few times and as you create a bigger eclipse and click a few times, you can see that it creates a shadow effect. Just undo all that. Okay. And then I wanted to create like a glass sort of floor look and feel to it, so we added a reflection and then a shine layer, which is just again an eclipse brush but on white, and it just gives it a bit more depth. So as you see, it's starting to come together now. The next thought to this was it's looking a bit empty around the edges, so we added some gold dust which is just a dust brush. I think it was a sand dust brush, and I've added a motion blur to it so it looks like it's falling, and then we've added a gradient map to it, which is a gold gradient map, and then I just duplicated this layer with an overlay, and again just to make sure it pops. And then it's still looking empty over here, this area, and because this is the blue part of the flag, I thought it'd be nice to introduce some stars. So again, these are just shapes that I've created using the custom shape tool. And these actually have gradient overlay and a small Gaussian blur on the first few. And a couple of brushes behind just to add some depth. But this gold now doesn't match the gold that already goes over the gold medal, so I brought back this gradient map that I use on here, and it kind of makes it pop slightly more. And then what I normally do now is I will merge all the layers together using Command, Option, Shift and E. That will create a brand new layer with all the visible layers that are below it. Convert it to a smart object, and then I use Camera Raw to give this effect. I'll just open it up just to give you an insight into what sort of settings I've used. So we increased the exposure slightly, contrast, added the highlights a bit more, brought the shadows out so it's less shadows, so it's a bit lighter that way. Same with the whites and the blacks. Added a bit of clarity just to give it a bit of texture. Brought the vibrance up and turned the saturation down. And then on the curve, we brought the shadow up slightly and down to create a little bit of an S curve. And then we've added some split tone in, so we've got like a purple shade to the highlights. Something that I use quite a lot on most of my designs is split tone in at the end, and a slight blue on the shadows. And then we've added some green at the end, and added some darkness around the edges just to bring it in a bit. And that's pretty much all I've used Camera Raw for on this one. Most of my designs end with using Camera Raw at the end just to get it how I want it to look at the final piece. But always make sure, obviously, you convert it to a Camera Raw object. Sorry, a smart object, so you can use Camera Raw and go back and edit your changes. And then you just add the logo at the end and we're done. Like I said, this file is available on my social media. There's a link on my Twitter for you to download it. Let me know if this video was any good. I'd like to do more of these. Until next time, stay safe.